Welcome to Garden Wise Adventures. My name is Malie, and today it's a beautiful day. We just had a rainstorm. It's the end of July and it's time for my first really decent garden harvest. So I'm going to take you along, show you what I have to harvest in my garden, and just enjoy this evening. Now, as I said, I live in Utah Zone 6/7, and we've had a really weird weather year this year. So I have some things that are behind and other things that are doing a lot better than usual. Now, today we're going to start first on my green stalks. This is up on my deck, and we're going to see what we have to harvest up here. Now, the first thing that I like to harvest is my chamomile. I have these green stalks. I have the flowers for the hummingbirds, and they have been actually fighting over these flowers. These are the hot lip salvia, but I also grow chamomile up here, and I just pick the little flowers off and use them to make tea. Now, this isn't very much today, but I come out here and harvest every other day, and I've already got enough to fill almost a half of a quart jar of flowers for chamomile tea. Now, the next thing that we're going to harvest is my green beans. I have a lot of green beans, bush green beans in this green stalk, so we're going to harvest those. So it looks like we got a decent harvest of green beans, and that's all that we're going to harvest on the green stalks right now. I have been harvesting my basil. We've got some peppers that are up here. They're not quite ready. They're going to be a while. There's some hot peppers. They were supposed to be ahi cachuca, but I think they're ahi mirasol instead, because they actually are pointing straight up and they're skinny like the ahi mirasol. So let's go and see what else there is to harvest. Now, the next thing we have to harvest is some of these peppers. This is a Doe Hill pepper. Just going to twist it off. These are some of my very, very favorite peppers. They're a sweet pepper, and they're just very sweet and have kind of a citrusy flavor. This one's getting a little bit of sunburn, but we'll harvest this one. And then we've got a really tiny one. Now, we almost have some Antohi peppers ready. These are ready when they're bright red, and they also have an extremely good flavor, but they range from yellow to orange to red. Really, really good peppers. Let's see if we have some tomatoes ready up here. Oh, wow. I think. Yep. This is an Adelaide Festival. Isn't that a gorgeous tomato? It also is extremely delicious. It's a hybrid tomato that's been hybridized for long enough that you can actually save the seeds and grow the same tomato from it. But I absolutely love these. This is a bush tomato, and this one is actually in a 1-gallon container on my patio, and I've been growing it since last September. I just grow it indoors when it's not outdoors. Now, I will be starting them over by seed again. I won't be bringing them indoors in the winter, because I found when I do that, when I bring them from outside to inside, I bring insects. So we'll just replant the seeds and start them again for next winter. And then we have a few more coming on there. Like I said, it's a 1-gallon container. Now, down here we have the Golden Harvest. This is an Arrow Garden hybrid, and they are delicious. This is just a little cherry tomato. It's supposed to be a micro dwarf cherry tomato, but it grows a little bit taller. This is in just a 2-gallon pot. So we'll harvest a few of those. One of my favorite ways to harvest these tomatoes is just to come down here and see what we can reach on the bottom, below my deck. We've got quite a few we can reach. So next we're going to move to my side yard that has my tomatoes in it. We are just coming out of 100-degree temperatures. We had several weeks of 100-degree temperatures, and I actually put a shade over my tomatoes because I wasn't seeing any tomatoes developing. I planted my tomatoes a little bit late this year. Instead of planting them mid-May and then covering them, I planted them in June. So they are a bit behind, and I think it made it so that we hit the hot weather just as they were flowering and they dropped their blossoms. But the shade cloth helped, and let me show you what I have on my tomatoes now. Now we definitely don't have near as much as we had last year, but this right here is it's labeled as a sun sugar, and I've purchased it twice as a sun sugar, and both from different companies labeling it as a sun sugar, but this doesn't look like sun sugar to me. I'll go show you my sun gold, and I made sure to label these correctly, and the sun gold looks like what I thought a sun sugar would look like. These are an average tomato taste. They're a little bit larger than a cherry and smaller than a regular tomato. They are good, and I do dehydrate these. And then we have several more growing. We also have some Amish paste that are starting to come on. I planted one of my Adelaide festivals down here, and I think we're going to start getting tomatoes on this one. It's starting to flower. This one also I think is an Amish paste. We've got several tomatoes coming on this one. And then we've got the San Marzanos back here. We've got more tomatoes coming on these. Definitely. There definitely aren't as many as there have been in the past years. Now let me show you this one. This has several cherries. We also have our Jet Stars, and the Jet Stars are really producing. We might even have one that is ripe. This one's not quite ripe yet, but we're going to have ripe tomatoes here shortly. Let me show you my favorite ones though. These are the GMO purple tomatoes, and we have some that are ripe. Look at the color on those. And we have some more up here. Now, what I've found is you need to be really careful about when you pick these if you want the best flavor. If you pick them when they're not quite ripe, they just have a very, very bland tomato flavor. So for example, this one right here and this one right here is almost ready, but this one is ready. This one is darker. There we have them. So at the end of our harvest, I'll take you inside and we're going to cut those open, and I'm going to show you what they look like inside and do a taste test, because you've got to see what they look like inside, and it's going to be kind of hard to show you here outside and not cut into them. So let's go see what else we have to harvest. Now I wanted to come look at our tomatoes back here. These are tomatoes that are in another Vegega raised metal bed. These are out in the open. I didn't have to cover these over during the hot time because they're not up against the house and they were more open. And these are my Sun Golds. They were labeled as Sun Gold. They taste like the sun sugar. I really have had a hard time telling the difference. I thought they were going to be of similar size and similar flavor, but they don't seem to be. But we've got several ripe. Looking pretty good so far. Then another one that I'm really excited about that's finally ripe is this is my very first Cherokee Purple. So let's pull that off. It's split quite a bit because we did have some rain. These have been watered with an Oya system. I have had to turn the irrigation on every once in a while when it's the most hot, but this is definitely edible. We're going to be able to try a Cherokee Purple. We also have some carbon that are coming on. These are some more Jet Stars that are just starting to try and color up. And a mushroom basket. Now the mushroom basket, look at that, it's got kind of a weird shape at the bottom. But the mushroom basket is red when it's ripe and absolutely delicious. It's kind of almost got the texture of a paste tomato. Now these are definitely not ready to harvest yet, but we have got some tomatillos. some that are almost filled out completely, and I want to wait until these turn brown. And hopefully this year when I do my salsa verde, I do it correctly this time. Last year I didn't rinse off the tomatillos and it was so bitter I couldn't eat my salsa. Now I have several different squash, and this one's a center cut squash, and I wanted to show you what it looks like. We've got two little ones here. We've got a bigger one over here. And I've been harvesting these pretty regularly, but I think what I would like to do is I would like to leave these for winter squash. Center cut squash can be used as winter squash, and they can be used as summer squash. The summer squash is pretty good, but the winter squash is better. So I think I'm just going to let these continue to grow and not harvest them at this time. And then over here we have another one that's just a little bit different shape. We're going to leave that for winter squash. Over here we have a mixture of squashes. They've done really, really, really well. We have 4 butternut squash that are starting to form fruit. And then we have a Costa Romanesco zucchini over here. I think we've got some zucchini. We'll have to go around and see if, oh yeah, we do. Let me go pick that one. Before we go over there, this right here is the Oya system. This is the reservoir for it. And it waters this bed, my squash bed that has pole beans, and we've got some that we're going to harvest there. And then the tomatoes way over on the other side. It also waters my topaz melons. And they have filled in so beautifully, you can't see my ugly trellis. So let's stay on task. And down here, we have Costa Romanesco zucchini. This zucchini is absolutely delicious. We've got another one down there that we'll harvest a little bit later. And I think we have another one on the other side. Let's go check. Yeah, we let this one get away from us just a little bit. Let's harvest this one. And there we've got it. And we've got a few more down there that are getting ready. But it's doing really well. Then we've got a yellow squash I wanted to check on. Let's see if you can see it. There it is. It's ready to harvest too. Let me see if I can get back in here and harvest that. Got a yellow crookneck squash. And before we get out of here, I want to just admire my topaz melons. There's a story behind the topaz melons, and I'm just not going to tell it again now. I tell it every time I look at them. But these are heirloom cantaloupes. And look at that. We've got a bunch of them. Let me see if I can find more. Look at that little guy down there. We're going to have a bunch of topaz melons, and I am so excited. Last year we got one, and it was so delicious. There's another one there. I think I counted 6 or 7 so far. So now let's look at our pole beans and see what there is to harvest. And it looks like they're just starting to come on. This is the first year in a long time, and the first year on this property that I've actually grown pole beans. So we'll do a taste test on those and see what we like, and see if we like them. So we've got just a few pole beans, but it looks like we've got some flowers on them, and they still have a long ways to go, so I think we're going to get a good crop off of them. The sweet potatoes are looking great. This is a red ivy leaf sweet potato. They're not quite ready to harvest yet, but they are going to be at the end of the year. They're looking really, really good. Now this is the good thing about planting a mix of June-bearing strawberries and ever-bearing strawberries. I have 4 gallons of smashed strawberries in my freezer. It's going to get me through a couple of years of jam, I think. And that was from the June-bearing berries, but now we have our ever-bearing berries coming on again. And they're coming on in just the right amount so I can snack on them and I don't have to think about storing them. Next, we're going to look at the peppers. The peppers are going crazy. There are so many of them. Sorry about the wind noise. We've got another storm blowing in. It's monsoon season. But these are my Hatch Milds. They're just like a Big Jim, except for without any spice at all. We've got a ton of the chocolate cherry candy cane. Look at those guys. They're not quite ready yet. Got a ton of the Sugar Rush Peach, not quite ready yet. Then we have the Corno de Toro Gallo. They're also not ready. These are going to turn yellow when they're ready. They're just a really long pepper. This is the Aconcagua. I've been harvesting these. They get to be about double this size. I've been freezing them and using them for green peppers. We've got some sunburn going on, but this is a Jimmy Nardello. It's kind of hard to do one-handed. But look how beautiful that is. I love Jimmy Nardellos. They're very sweet, very good peppers. This is another one that was supposed to be the Aji Cachuca, but I think it's an Aji Marisol because this is what Aji Marisol looks like. This is an Aleppo pepper. Love it for the powder. It is so good. This is a Hawaiian sweet. It fell over and got quite a bit of sunburn on it, but there's a ton of peppers on it that are ripening. Now this was supposed to also be a Hawaiian sweet, but I think the seeds got mixed up, and I think this is going to be a fushimi from last year, and that's unfortunate because I really don't like the fushimi peppers. The flavor is just a little off to me. Down here we have the Big Jims. It's a Hatch pepper that is got a little bit of a bite to it, but not much. Up here we have several more squash. This is where I put my spaghetti squash. So we have some down here. We're going to get a lot of good spaghetti squash. And then I have one. Let's see if I can find it right in there. You can possibly see it a little bit. That one right there, that little green one, is going to be a Naked Bear pepita squash. I only see one forming though. And then we have another yellow crookneck squash. Several more forming down there. We have cucumbers here that were just planted. They bear so quickly that it's not going to be long before we start seeing cucumbers out of here. But these were planted about 2 weeks ago, and they're already huge. No flowers yet because they're a little young. But the biggest harvest is going to be up here. We're going to harvest some of our banana peppers, and we're going to make pickled banana peppers with these. Some of them are ripe, I hope. Well, the color is really close to the same, but we'll harvest a few of these. I guess they might have just a little bit longer to go. When they're ready to harvest, they turn a little bit darker yellow. Yeah, I thought we were going to have a bigger harvest today of these. So this is all we'll pick of these, and go check the jalapenos next and see if they're ready. Now these are our jalapenos. I'm growing them in buckets just like I'm growing the banana peppers over there. They grow in these buckets really well. They're on an automatic watering system. And some of these are not ready. Let's get on over here. Still think these could size up a bit, but I think this is a different variety. Look at these. I think some of them are ripe. Look at the size of that jalapeno, and it looks good. And compare that to these. The color is different and the size is different. Now we're going to harvest a few for my salsa, but the majority we're going to let ripen and turn red so we can make sriracha sauce. I think that's all that's ready right now. Oh, I love harvest day. This is my dwindling carrot patch. It's the first year I've actually been able to grow carrots. So let's see if there's any more that are ready. Dig around the base. Not as big as I'd like. Look at that. Now I think these are Danvers half long, so they are pretty short, but they do have a decent size. Now I have to say, most of you will be looking at these carrots saying that's ridiculous, but most of my carrots are only a quarter of this size. This is the first year we've gotten them to this size. My grandfather and father were carrot farmers. I don't know if they'd be proud of me with this, but I'm proud of myself, and that's all that counts. Oh, here's a different color one. Okay, we've got a few carrots, a few peppers, some squash, tomatoes, beans. I love this. Now, before these drop their seed all over, I am going to harvest some dill seeds. Now, when I harvest dill, I do it a little different than most people. I do use the leaves, dehydrate those, but I don't use them very much, so I only harvest a few. I grow dill mainly for the flowers, for the pollinators, and for the dill seed. This is what I make pickles with. Now, I pick them like this. The stem still has moisture in it, but the seed doesn't. And I stick it in a plastic bag, which I leave wide open so that it has airflow, and leave it on my counter. And when everything is dried completely out, I pound on it. You get the little seeds at the bottom. As you can see, we're already starting to get the seeds at the bottom. And then I keep the seeds and throw away the heads. It's very easy that way. I could use a paper bag, but I have more plastic bags than paper bags. So before they drop their seed all over, we'll just go through and we'll just get a full bag full. So I usually stuff my bags about this full, and this is going to serve a dual purpose. As I'm harvesting these, it's dislodging seeds, and it's planting my dill for next year, so I don't have to do it. So I just planted my dill for next year, harvested seeds for making pickles, and we're good to go. Now we're coming on our last fruit to harvest for the day. First one of all my grapes is finally ripe. So in here we have, and it looks like the hornets have been getting to them. That's what it looks like when hornets eat them. Do we have a hornet right there? I don't think so. But we've got a cluster of grapes that we can harvest. We lost some down here. Let's see if we can find them. There's my cluster of grapes. They are so sweet and good. This is Himrod, and I use these for raisins and fresh eating. Okay, it is another day, but I wanted to kind of show you the tomatoes and do a taste test. These are the absolutely gorgeous purple tomatoes by Norfolk Industries. I guess it is Norfolk Industries. These right here are my Sun Gold, Sun Sugar. At least it was labeled a Sun Sugar. I'm still doubtful it's actually a Sun Sugar. It seems, most of them are about twice this size, and the flavor isn't what I expect it to be. But it was labeled Sun Sugar. It's appeared the same way twice out of different seed companies, so that's what we have. And then these are the Golden Harvest by Arrow Garden. Now, I don't know if you can actually see my face, but that's not going to be important. I do film these on my own. But I wanted to have you close up while I cut these open and talk a little bit more about GMO versus F1 hybrid versus open pollinated. And then also there's heirloom. So the GMO tomatoes right here, they are manipulated. They are manipulated by science, and they spliced the gene of a snapdragon into the tomato to get this color. Sun Sugar and Sun Golds are F1 hybrids, which means that every year they breed the same two tomatoes together to get this variety. We can't save the seeds from these, the Sun Gold and the Sun Sugar, and get the same tomatoes. We have to start with the same parent varieties. The Arrow Gardens are open pollinated. That means that these tomatoes, they had to have been hybridized, because all tomatoes were hybridized back through the years. But they had to have been hybridized, at one time, and then produced over and over again until they became stable. And that's actually what's happened with the purple tomato. You can plant the purple tomato seeds, supposedly. This is what the people at Norfolk Industries said. You could plant the seeds of these GMO tomatoes and get the same purple tomato. I haven't done it. I think I'm going to try it this year and see what happens. But these basically are going to be open pollinated GMO tomatoes. I don't know if you can use those two terms simultaneously, but you can produce the same tomato out of these. And you can out of these, but you cannot out of these. So let's cut open the GMO tomatoes and do a taste test. So let's get you in really close so that you can see this color. The color is amazing. So here's my tomato. Let's slice through it. Oh, this is going to be gorgeous. Look at the color on the plate. And then, ta-da! Let's see if it... These are violet purple. I mean, if you stamp them on the plate, you get purple. Absolutely gorgeous. And the purple color, I think it's lycopene that it's high in. High like blueberries, a lot of blueberries. So they're healthy for you, cancer fighting, and just absolutely gorgeous. So that was the gene from the snapdragon. So now let's cut open just one of these other ones. We all know what a sun sugar looks like. Gorgeous and orange all the way through. Flavor is amazing. We'll just cut open one of each. So there they all are. Gorgeous colors and great flavor. Let's do a taste test. So the first one that we're going to sample is the purple GMO tomato. Now this is not the first time that I've tasted it. I've been sampling them. If you've watched my videos long enough, you know that I really cannot wait for anything like this. I always, if there's something fun to try, I always try it first and then share it later, so I'm sorry about that. But let's taste it. It's pretty sweet. And I do say you need to wait until these tomatoes are completely ripe. Let them turn completely purple and then wait a day or two. And then they have a sweet, good tomato flavor. It's a good tomato flavor. I like it. The only problem is when you start comparing it with the sun sugar and the sun gold. Which is mine and many other people's favorite tomato in the entire world, there's no comparison. There's nothing that can compare to a sun gold. It's got the bright, really deep tomato flavor with a lot of sweetness. Let's try the sun sugar, the one that's labeled sun sugar. I really think these seeds have been messed up because this flavor is very comparable to this flavor. It's kind of a mild tomato flavor with mild sweetness. Now let's try the Golden Harvest, which I know I love. Now I do have to say the Golden Harvest is on par with the Sun Gold. Now the reason I don't grow Golden Harvest as often as I do Sun Gold is it's a very small plant. So the production on it naturally is a lot less than your regular Sun Gold. So that is the taste test for our tomatoes. And if you've grown and tried the Norfolk purple tomato, I would love to hear your thoughts on it. So it's July, but here in Utah with the weird weather that we're having, this is just the start of my harvest. We've barely harvested any tomatoes. The peppers still aren't ready. The squash is slowly coming in, and we still have a ton of fruit coming in. I have a few pluots that are just starting to change color. We've got some plums that are just starting to change color. We've got apples and pears and Asian pears. We've even got a fig here at the end of July that's just about ready. And I'll probably take you along on that harvest. But I would love to hear what you're harvesting. Are you guys winding down for the year? Are you ramping up? Where do you live and what are you harvesting right now? Now, the one thing that we do need to think about is fall harvest. We've worked really hard, it's been really hot, we're a little bit tired, but we need to think about fall. I've already got my garlic and shallots ready to go. I'm going to plant those in November, and I have the spots in my garden chosen for those. And I also started some cabbage and kohlrabi to put in my garden next week, and I'll bring you along for that planting because it is time to start planting fall vegetables in Utah. So I really hope this video has been helpful for you. If it has been helpful, I hope you like, subscribe, share it with your friends, and go have a wonderful garden adventure.